Okay, awesome. So, the brain. That's what I'm going to talk about today. And it is the most complicated object in the known universe with 100 billion neurons. Okay, it is one of the most complicated things. And we're going to decipher that today together. It's going to be a conversation, it's going to be interactive. It's not just me taking the space. So I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to get to learn who you are as well. And actually, let's just start there. Do we have any entrepreneurs in the room or any coaches or we've got Sadiq, the coach. Okay, okay, I see a wave on the camera. Any more entrepreneurs or coaches? Okay, okay, cool. So what other backgrounds do we have in the room, sort of? IT? Awesome. Future journalists. Okay, that sounds incredible. Yes, it's happening. It's happening.
And in the chat, we've got astral projection,
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. Astral projection,
teacher,
teacher.
content agency,
I would love to connect with everyone, but the teachers,
NLP.
NLP, wow, neuro-linguistic programming. I use a fair amount of that too. So this talk will be interesting for you. Okay, amazing. So every brain is different. And today I'm going to tell you the 3 ultimate hacks to enter a flow state. To enter this state of focus where you literally lose your consciousness. You're so immersed in what you're doing that everything comes natural to you. You're not even thinking about what you're doing. You're just immersed in this hyper focused state. Now, some people have already entered this state in their past. Do we have any individuals with ADHD? I've got ADHD. We got some maybes. Well, certain brains are actually really good at entering a hyper state of focus, but we've never been taught how to use our brains. And the education system expects us to sit in a classroom and receive all the information, but every brain is different. Every brain requires a different approach. We're actually very visual in terms of learning, but a lot of the lessons that we get taught are quite auditory. And right now I'm teaching you in an auditory style, but I'll do my best to make it visual and make it fun. Okay, so question for you guys. Why do we even have a brain in the first place? What is the purpose of this organ?
To make our body function.
To make our body function. Okay, that's one thing. Yeah. Survival over here. Okay, okay.
Things to eat, all the
To eat. Yes.
everything.
I can't see the chat, but that's from before, right? Yeah. Okay. It's a whole system. It so like it leads the body, it controls it. Yes. What do you think, Sadiq? What's the purpose of the brain? Why do we have this organ? Without the brain, nothing will work, Sadiq said. His words.
The battery of everything.
It's a battery of everything. It's so true. It's so true. But yeah, one person got the answer bang on. Everyone's correct, but all of these function lead to one main purpose, one sole purpose, and that is to delay death so that you can survive. Okay, that is the main sole purpose of the brain. So our brain is actually very biased to survival. The way we think, the way we act, everything is to drive survival. Okay, this is going to make sense the more we get into it. So, thoughts. The brain produces thoughts. Okay? What percentage of our thoughts, on average, do you think are negative?
Depends on the person.
Depends on the person. But your average human brain in the population, what do you think is the percentage of negative thoughts? 90%. Yeah, if we just shout out numbers, 90%, 40%. Okay, okay. mean, 90% is pretty high, right?
Yeah, because nobody in the entire world is, always satisfied with themselves. So
Yes.
there's this
Yes.
kind of negativity that has and is with everybody, including like everybody, like Elon Musk. If you
Mm,
ask Elon Musk if he's happy or not, he will say no. And that,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that reduces the negative cost. Nobody wants to be negative in their life, but of course you have, you know, there has to
Mm.
be some kind of reality.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So depends on the person, but lots of people will have negative thoughts. Okay. What do you think was closer, 40 or 90%?
Or 55%.
Or 55%? Okay. Out of all of those, the closest person was who said 90%? Matt. The closest person was Matt. Okay. So depending on the study you look at, your brain on average will have 70 to 80% negative thoughts. And that is completely natural. If your brain is doing that, if you're thinking negatively a lot, it's because it's designed to keep you in this state of negative thinking. Why? Why does the brain love to do that? To protect itself? Okay, good. What else? How does negative thoughts serve us in terms of survival?
Matt says keep us safe.
To keep us safe? Yes, yes.
Doesn't like the unknown.
Doesn't like the unknown completely. Yeah. Okay. Think. Why does the brain have a negative bias? If we think of evolution, how does focusing on negative stimuli allow us to have a better chance of survival?
So if we think of the worst case scenario every time
If we
we are
think of the
looking at
worst case
failure,
scenario, yeah,
we are kind of mentally prepared about it. So
we're
whatever that
mentally
comes
prepared.
through
Yeah.
our way, our brain and our bodies, entirely, uh, our brain is fulfilled that we have already seen this before. So we know
Yes.
that this could have happened. So our brain is prepared.
Yes. Yes. Really
Could
good.
be
Really
negative.
good. So it's preparing us for the worst case scenario. True. Right. Imagine I've got a tiger running at me, okay, and this running super fast at me. Am I focused on the beautiful stripes and the purring cat that's running at me, or am I focused on the velocity, the fangs, the fearfulness of this beast? Right? I'm scared for my life, so I'm gonna focus on the tiger potentially eating me, not giving me a hug. Right? Okay, because that keeps me alive. So our brain is designed for survival. But what I want to teach you guys is to go from a survive state into a thrive state. Okay. So most people are stuck in default mode because no one has taught us how to challenge this, how to work with our brain as well. Okay. I guess the next question, which I always get mixed answers for this, and I always find it fascinating from the audience and you guys. Okay. Does the brain define who we are? Some people get into philosophy, psychology, sociology. There's different angles to answer this, but does the brain define who we are? Yes. Okay, we've got a yes over here. What about in the Zoom chat?
Yeah. No. Someone
Yes.
says no.
Someone said no. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What do you think, Hannah? 50-50. Okay. Okay. That's a safe answer. Your brain's keeping you safe. Okay. What do you think, Nord?
No.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't define who you are. Really? Okay. Okay. So the right answer is in fact no. The brain does not define who we are. Okay. The brain is simply an organ facilitating your survival. All it cares about is delaying death. Okay. you're much more than your brain. And we've got neurons in our heart, we've got neurons in our digestive system, we've got networks everywhere in our body. Okay, we're so much more than just this organ trying to keep us alive. So do our thoughts equal reality? When we think of the worst case scenario, is that a reality? Or is that our brain keeping us safe?
Brain keeping that.
It's our brain keeping us safe. So we need to start building a new relationship with this. Okay, and we can do that. There are ways to do that. So I just face planted. I'm going to build a new relationship with this thing.
Someone says,
Yeah,
and your soul, and then
our thoughts come from childhood. That is very insightful. Yeah. Yes. So childhood has a very impactful, it basically really dictates the program and the coding of your brain. Okay. Childhood. The reason being, if we've got like any geeks that want to know a bit more about the neuroscience, I'll dive a little bit deeper into that. But when we're younger, our neurons are very flexible. Okay, so they can easily mold, they absorb a lot of information. And beyond age 12, we start to build like these layers, like these coats of insulation across the neurons, which makes our thinking way more rigid. Okay. So have you noticed when kids are able to learn languages really quickly? They're able to learn and pick up information really fast. That's because their brains are very absorbent. So whatever we experience during childhood then becomes our program for life. So yeah, that is really insightful. Our thoughts do actually come a lot of the time from childhood. Now, talking about thoughts, what's the purpose of thoughts, right? Why does the brain, specifically to humans, why do we have thoughts? Because not every single animal has thoughts or think the same way we do. Well, firstly, we have language, right? We've learned to use language.
That's subjective reality.
Thoughts are a subjective reality. Is that what I said? Yeah. Yeah. So our thoughts don't actually define us. We can have irrational thoughts or thoughts that are very protective. Like, I'm not going to do this speech because I'm going to be embarrassed. Someone's going to reject me. Okay, that's your brain keeping you in a comfort zone, because within that comfort zone, you create a layer of certainty. And your brain loves certainty, but it hates uncertainty. As soon as you step out that comfort zone, your brain's like, oh, fear, respond, survival mode. Talking about survival mode, do we have any procrastinators in the room? Yeah, we got two hands there, one hand here. Sadiq can't put. Oh yeah, he's got two hands up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've got people in the Zoom as well. Okay. Procrastination. All right. I'm gonna get into that. There's a reason why I brought this up. Okay, but we're gonna slowly get there. But first, we need to figure out, why is the brain producing thoughts? What happens in our body after a thought? Action. Okay, that is very warm. That is really warm. Reaction. Okay, we're warm. It's a biochemical reaction that happens internally in our body when we think. We actually produce something. What is that thing? Say it again. Emotions. Yes. Bang on. We produce emotions by thinking. Now, these emotions could be positive, they could be negative, right? And if we go back to the percentage of our thoughts, 70 to 80% are negative. Imagine what our emotions are going to be. They're going to be negative. We're going to get lots of fear, which can then turn into anxiety, we can also get feelings of depression, which comes from this internal biological rhythm that we create with our thoughts. Okay? Okay, great. So what happens after an emotion? What is the purpose of our emotions? Bonding, connection, okay. Yeah, because that can help us survive. If we're very tribal, if we've got community, we have a better chance of survival. But why else do we have emotions? Act of connecting and being social is a form of behavior. Okay. So you said it before, action. Our emotions will drive action. Is that always true? Do we always go into action? No, not always. We've got something in the chat. To connect with others and to connect with our purpose. Yes, yes. Explain feelings. So like different types of emotions, or do you want me to explain feelings if it's different? To be understood? Yeah. So our emotions, the purpose of the emotion is to cause an action. But sometimes there's inaction, right? There's a lack of action. Okay. That is a survival response. Okay. The tiger's running at me, trying to eat me. What am I going to do? I'm going to run away, or I'm going to freeze. I'm going to be completely still and show this tiger that I am no value. I am not nutritionally value to you. I'm going to pretend I'm dead. Okay. So this is how procrastination actually presents itself in future modern life. We feel a certain level of fear because of our thoughts. These could be conscious or unconscious. That's another level which I won't get into right now. Then that stops us from doing the thing we truly need to do. And we find distractions. Distractions and doing multiple things at the same time. It's a form of procrastination. It's a form of avoidance. And it's a survival response because we're fleeing. We're fleeing away from the thing we need to do. Why? Because our brain thinks that's a threat. If the brain thinks it's a threat, your life is in danger. And unfortunately, the brain doesn't know the difference between perceived threat to life or actual threat to life. Okay. So if you're late for a meeting, imagine you're in a car, you're driving, you're stressed, you're late to this meeting, you're feeling this like nervous system response like, oh my God, I'm sweating, I'm stressed. Your brain literally thinks you're fighting for your life. It doesn't know the difference. We can logically know the difference, but biologically our brain doesn't. Okay. So if we procrastinate, right, we're not engaging in action. What happens after?
We can't reach the goal that we want to achieve in the first place.
Yeah, we can't reach the goal we want to achieve. And what could happen in terms of the brain, right? If we're not engaging in action, we're creating a level of uncertainty. This level of uncertainty goes high. Okay, and the brain hates uncertainty. Someone mentioned it in the chat before as well. Out of body experience, okay. Yeah, yeah. So essentially what's happening, we're getting results, but through inaction, we're not getting any results. So our brain creates this level of uncertainty and we feel even more scared to do the thing we have to do because we're not moving forward. We're not receiving information from the environment. So we hide even more from the thing we need to do. Okay. So in order to enter a flow state, in order to be a peak performer, we need to understand our thoughts and our emotions. And this is the fundamental of your brain. Before I even tell you the juicy stuff, we need to understand this, okay, and slowly decipher it. So I'm going to show you a diagram of what this cycle looks like. Because usually I've got like a whiteboard, an electronic piece, and I draw it all the time. And it's quite hard for the brain to understand all of this information without actually seeing it, because we're very visual, right? Our brain is more focused on the tiger, the movement running at me, than the purring or the roaring that the tiger's going to make. Okay, because that visual information is way more important to survive. And in school, we're not taught to use visual information. We're taught to use auditory. So we're actually not learning in the effective way. You know, and I teach students, I go to schools, I do workshops and talks where I teach students how to actually learn, and teachers. I actually teach teachers how to teach. Okay, so our thoughts, okay, will equal or will create an emotion. That emotion will cause an action, and then following the action, we get results. Okay, so we get this tier model. I don't know if you can see. Okay, but through these results, we can get positive and negative outcomes, and that information is going to feed back into our thoughts. And this is sort of what you were saying before, like we can use information to protect us from the future, right? So it becomes this negative feedback loop. And imagine if our thoughts start with being 70 to 80% negative, it's extremely difficult to get out of this cycle. But this is your default mode. This is where people get stuck. This is where people get stuck in the busyness of life. And we don't actually consciously make a difference. Okay, we just live the same automatic life. And I'm here to kind of challenge that. I'm here to make you realize that there are other ways. Okay. So I'm actually going to show you two types of people. Okay, so we got level of success over here. It's so hard to see on the camera. I will show it after, once it's drawn, I will show it. Okay, guys, just bear with me. Okay. So we've got this type of person who's in default. This is their level of success. Okay. They live a life that they think is normal, they're comfortable, and they never make risks. They never step out of that comfortable state. Okay. And this is completely normal because the brain loves repetition, because it loves what it knows. It hates uncertainty. If you change something, wow, that's scary to the brain. Okay. So it loves to keep you in default mode. Its job is to keep you there. Okay. But then there's other people who gain a new level of success, and these people are living their true dream. Okay. These are the people that challenge themselves, that become expansive, that take risks and actually listen to their internal body, and they realize what they truly, truly want. Okay. And I want you to step out into your dream mode. Okay. That's my goal today, is to plant a little seed, and hopefully one day over time that will nourish. You know, I'm not expecting you to change overnight, but I want you to start to softly and gently challenge your brain with love. Okay. It's not about beating yourself up for the way you think. It's actually recognizing your brain is here to keep you alive. And when it tells you don't do that thing, it's just being your friend. Okay. But you're going to tell your brain, actually, I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to go for that thing. Okay. So I love this saying, and it goes, use fear as your compass. Use it as your guide. This thing is scary, even more reason to do it. That gets you outside of the comfort zone. Okay, so we've got comfort zone. And only by stepping out the comfort zone, don't worry, it's a bad drawing anyway. Only by stepping out the comfort zone, you're going to gain new results by making mistakes, by learning. But by learning, you grow. So once you step out, you start to grow. Okay, so you create a new layer. And with growth, that's when you actually start to get closer to your dreams. Okay? So, fear. Got something just experienced that, what, coming on today? Or tell us your story. What did you just experience? Oh, yes?
He had a paradigm shift yesterday for me.
Well done. So, fear. Has anyone heard of this brain structure called the amygdala? The amygdala. Okay, really complicated name. I don't want people to know this name, so the way I'm going to describe the amygdala is a fun way.
Today was coming out my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
You agree?
Yeah. Strong it. Good job. Okay.
Okay, so Amy G. Okay, no, Amy G. Amy G. Imagine Amy G is in your brain. It's this lady, okay, and she is the emotional powerhouse of your emotions. Okay, so she's just the house of your emotions. And she has a priority system, a filter system of how she uses emotions. Which emotion do you think is the most important to Amy G? Out of all the emotions we have, what do you think is the most important? Fear? Fear? Yeah, bang on. So we could have number 2, happiness, number 3, excitement, number 4, anger, whatever it is. But number 1 will be fear. If you feel an element of fear, that gets prioritized. Okay. Has anyone witnessed the Will Smith slap? Yeah, with Chris Rock? Bang. Okay. Well, he went on stage and he slapped this guy in public on camera in front of millions of people. And essentially, he got embarrassed. He got embarrassed because his wife basically they made a nasty comment and he lost control. Okay, because the number one fear that the number one emotion that was being prioritized was fear. Now, there's an issue when fear becomes a priority. Because when Amy G takes the driver's seat of the brain, she physically shuts down other parts of the brain. Okay, so we actually lose access to being rational. So, when you're angry and you might throw something, or, you might have an argument and you accidentally shout, you're not being rational. Amy G is taking the driving seat. Okay, and that's what happened to Will Smith. He lost control because of that fear. Okay, and then what happened after that? He completely regretted it. He was like, what? Why did I do this? And he was so sorry. It wasn't Will Smith. It was Amy G. Okay, so we're not defined by our brain. Okay, that's the important thing. And we need to start challenging this fear and these emotions. Okay, and Amy G. Okay. Now, what happens over time, Amy G starts to see more information, more negative stimuli, okay? It starts to learn through experiences. I need to be overactive. And so you will see certain people as they age, they just become more and more, I guess, sensitive or reactive or stressed. And that's because the amygdala, the Amy G, is creating networks within your brain. It's like a muscle. The more you train it, the bigger it gets. And physically, it will grow in size. And when it's bigger, it will start to be more active. Okay. And Amy G keeps us stuck. Okay. Because she wants you to feel a level of threat so that you're always cautious. You're always being careful with everything you do so that you're surviving. Okay. But think about it. How irrational is that? We live in a world that no longer technically requires survival. We have healthcare, we have safety, we have food, we have shelter, all of these things. We're not focused on surviving or keeping ourselves alive. And our brain has hardly changed in the past thousands of years. Okay. Biologically, we're almost identical to our ancestors. So we're still stuck in this survival mode biologically, but society has advanced rapidly. Technology has advanced rapidly. Cultures, architecture, everything around us is increasing and accelerating, and our brain biologically can no longer catch up. It's too fast. Society's too fast. So the best way for us to now survive in this new society, our brain is not designed for, we need to start going into a thrive state. And this is what I spoke about before. Okay. Now, can our brain change, or is it fixed? It can change. Yeah. So our brain is neuroplastic. I've got a different brain, like a fun brain. If you give me like 10 seconds, I'll take it out. 1 second. Yeah, it's in the backpack. Yeah. Thank you. So I have different types of brain. I am the brain man after all. Oh, wait. Oops. Yes. So I've got different brains. I'm the brain man after all. You see this one? It's all weird and moldy, and you can shape it into any way. Okay. So it's neuroplastic. Okay? You're capable of changing your brain. Okay. So if you think your intelligence is fixed, or your confidence won't change, or you're not able to take risks, that is a limiting belief. That is a conscious choice that you guys decide to make to be in default mode. But if you want to be in dream mode, we've got to be neuroplastic. Okay, we've got to start to create new ways of thinking. Okay, cool. So, do you want me to tell you the 3 top ways to enter a flow state? Yes? Okay. So I won't have time to go through every little piece of detail, but I'll try to give you as much as possible within this space because it's a big topic. Okay, it's a big topic. So has anyone actually experienced flow state here? Do people know what a flow state is? I've definitely experienced flow state. Have you experienced flow state? Okay, we've got flow state. So it's what did you think? First date. Someone thought I said first date. Okay, yes, but I don't know fully. Yeah, please explain. Okay. So a flow state is when we completely immerse ourselves at the activity at hand. Okay. And in this immersion, time completely disappears. Yes. We're not even conscious of what's going on around us. We're so in that mode of focus, and we're not very conscious. Everything becomes effortless. You're just in this state where everything is flowing. That's why it's called a flow state. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone has entered a flow state. Okay, I'll give you a classic example that most people experience flow states in sports. Yeah. Sports, okay? That's because there's certain requirements, certain physiological conditions that need to happen for your brain to enter this altered biochemical state, okay, for you to actually focus. right? So does anyone want to give me an example of when they potentially entered a flow state and kind of just explain that to me, what the experience was like?
Music and dancing.
Go. Take the mic, take the realm.
Free dancing when there's like music on and you're just moving in a way that feels good.
Yeah, 100%. And do you feel like when you're in this state, you're just thinking of multiple things or other things? No? Yeah. You're completely immersed in that state. And how does that feel?
Freeing.
That's a beautiful way to say it. It is so freeing. In fact, it is so empowering when you enter a flow state. Okay? It is so empowering. I wasn't planning to do this, but I might give you a little brief part of my story as to why I do what I do. I really wasn't planning this, but okay. So at school, um, you know, in primary school, I was a bright kid. I was really happy, really smiley, had an extremely loving mum, and honestly, I was really lucky to be in the position I was in. And people just knew me as that energetic kid with a super smile. But then I entered secondary school, and that's when things completely shifted. And I remember sitting in my classrooms, incredibly frustrated at myself because I simply could not focus. The teachers will tell me information, and I would try my absolute best, and I would fall asleep. I would literally disconnect from classrooms. The teachers thought there was something wrong with me. My mum took me to a bunch of doctors and other things, and no one knew what the hell was going on. But simply, I was just never taught as to how to use my brain. And eventually, I'm going to tell you the short version of this story. But my mom was told the most devastating words a mother could hear. The school calls her and they tell her, you need to come in. You need to come in. We need to have a serious talk about your son. Okay, so my mom, very Spanish, panics, like, what's going on? Right? Because her image of me was this bright, smiley kid. But what she didn't realize is that for years I was masking depression, I was masking demotivation, I was masking this frustration of lagging behind from my peers because I simply didn't know how to focus. And I felt so isolated and outcasted. And the teachers would label me as that lazy kid. And so they got me into this office and they told my mom, your kid is not worthy of education. He should give up. So I was kicked out. I was kicked out, and it's not like I was a bad kid. It's not like I didn't want to learn. It was my intention. I really did want to. I just didn't know how. I didn't know how. And that's what sort of brought me on this journey. And I was lucky enough that my parents didn't give up on me. And so, yeah, they kept searching for other schools to see if they would accept me in the local area. And then every single school would say, we do not want a reject kid. We don't want him. So that kept amplifying my feeling of I'm just not made for this world, you know? I'm just not worthy. I'm not worthy of this. And my confidence took a massive blow until we expanded the search. And finally, there was one school that said, no promises, but we will give your kid a chance of an interview. Okay, so I went in, and for some reason, deep down in my heart, I had this shimmer of hope. I thought, okay, maybe if I have a little bit of belief, maybe I could make this work. And for the first time ever, when I entered this room, for the first time ever, a teacher heard me. A teacher actually listened to me and heard my story. and they believed in me. And that's exactly what I needed. I needed one single person to believe in me. That year, I went to score the highest in psychology. In my school, I scored 0. I didn't even attempt the test paper in my previous school. I simply left all my exam papers blank. That's how worthless I thought I was. But simply one person believing in me, I got the top grades. I then went to Warwick University, a top global uni, to study biomedical sciences. I then started my own brain training company. And we're changing people's lives every single day, delivering workshops to schools, to corporates, to people in London like you guys, communities like Sadiq is building. And it's so fulfilling. It's so fulfilling. And it turns out I had ADHD. And no one taught me how to work with my ADHD. No one taught me how to focus. The reason why I'm telling you this is because flow is such an empowering feeling. Because I went from this low of feeling incredibly frustrated, taking me 10 hours to do 2 hours piece of work, right? To now being able to switch on whenever I choose to on demand and to do this work that would have usually taken me 10 hours in 1 hour. Okay, simply because I know how to enter flow. And that is incredibly empowering. So I think I saw something in the chat. Wow, what a story. Thank you.
You also got such an inspiration, man. I'm so proud.
Oh, you guys are so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's because your story was beautiful.
Thank you. And I'm sure some people can resonate with that. I'm sure I'm not the only one, right? And the education system is very boxed and framed, right? And I'm here to change that. I want to redefine what a brain is and what it means to people and how we can use it. So that's my mission. And going back to flow, this is why it's so freeing. This is why it's so empowering, because you gain time back. Imagine how much time you could save in a whole entire year just by simply knowing the conditions of entering this state of focus. And I'm about to tell you how. Okay, are we ready? Yes? Okay. Okay. So for this part, I need your help. Okay, so we're going to do like a little game and we're going to create a collective intelligence together. Okay, so we're going to brainstorm together and we're going to come up with what you think are your flow stimulators. Okay, what causes you to enter a flow state? Think of the factors in your life, in your routine, where you are able to sit down and focus, or during sport, what happens during sport? Think about those clues that I'm giving you. Okay, when have you entered flow and what stimulates you to enter that? So we're all going to come up with a list of flow stimulators. So if you're on the Zoom, just write random things, random words that you feel like are flow stimulators. Okay, and then you guys are going to pass around a piece of paper and you're going to write down what you think your flow stimulators are. And we're going to create a collective list together because we can learn from each other. What's your flow stimulator, Nord? Whilst they come up with some.
Often it's music without lyrics. Like if I'm trying to do a piece of work, like I've got my focus playlist on Spotify. That helps me out.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and also breathing, like certain types of breath work.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's really good. No, that's really good. It's really good. Hopefully that gives more clues as well. You also said that you enter a flow state whilst dancing.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more about that.
I guess when dancing, like if I say, for example, if I close my eyes or if I just start moving in a more intuitive way, it just allows me to flow where I'm not really thinking about it. But what I'd like to do more of is apply it to like working situations as well. Yeah.
Yeah. One clue there is movement.
Mm.
Okay. We've been told you have to sit down at your desk and do a certain thing in a certain way for hours. Our brain is not designed for that. Neither is our body. Yeah, so I'm going to read out what people said over on this side as well. The first one's really interesting. A deadline. Okay. So what happens in sports? Why is flow state way more common in sports? Competition. There's a set of rules. There's a set of gamification. Okay, so the brain needs a target. It can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing. I don't know how exactly. It needs clear metrics and clear timed specific targets. Okay, so a deadline's really good. Okay, turning off my phone. That's it's probably one of the most important flow stimulators. Okay, the mere presence of your phone, even if it's on, if it's on the desk, or even if it's in your bag and it's close to you, subconsciously, your brain is fighting the urge to check notifications. That subconscious urge equals cognitive energy. That loss of cognitive energy is lost in your focus and productivity. So just fighting the urge of that phone. So what I do, I literally like throw my phone into a different room, turn it off, and just put it out of my sight completely where it's not accessible at all. So I completely forget about my phone. So the phone is it's very distracting, and it's also using your dopamine pathway, your reward system, and I'll get into that a bit later. But if you want to enter a flow state, you got to start to rewire your brain and the way you use dopamine. Okay, if you want to enter peak performance, you got to get your dopamine from working. Okay, if that is your target, if that is your goal, and you want to focus and enter this state of flow, start being conscious of how you get dopamine. Okay, so scrolling on our phone is a classic example. Okay, so the less you do that, the more exciting work is, because then work starts to give you that dopamine. Okay, and that flow state then becomes reinforced. Okay, okay. So next we have flow inhibitors. Okay, so now we're going to come up with a list of flow inhibitors, and what actually, for example, the phone, yes, and what actually stops us from entering and maintaining a state of flow. Okay, so again, this is a collective intelligence activity. So if you just go around, and then in the meantime, Nord, you could help people with ideas. Or Sadiq, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Any inhibitors that you have?
Yeah. Phone for sure. Distractions.
Do you want to come in the shot? Or...
Yeah. Hi. I was saying phone and distractions, but like distractions in the environment, depending what environment I'm in. It could be like, well, it's different if I'm in a co-working space versus if I'm in like busy cafe where it's really loud, like the stimulus of lots of other things in my vision. That maybe is an inhibitor. Also my mood sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really good. Yeah.
Something that keeps
Yeah.
your focus away from what you should be doing.
So something that keeps your focus away from what you should be
Negative
doing.
thoughts.
Yeah. Like negative thoughts. Thoughts is actually a great sugar, yeah?
Lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep is
Yeah.
an incredible one. Yes.
Yeah, I can relate with that.
This man relates with it a lot. That kind of stuff. Yes. What was said before?
Oh, like
The music.
yeah.
Yeah, depending on the music you use, exactly. You could
Frequency.
the frequency as well. Yeah, because you want to enter certain brainwave states. And that's why actually breath work is a great one for flow.
Yeah, I guess I've said mine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna read some. Phone, be not alone. That's it's a really good one. Having like a body double too.
It's just I live with my parents right now, and it's so distracting. You know, I can't focus because my mom
Mm.
she lives
Oh, you
right
mean right. Yes,
on
yes, yes.
face. And
Completely understand that. Completely understand that. Yes, yes. So she was saying like how she lives with her parents and sometimes her mom is invading the space. So every time she tries to enter flow, there's a distraction, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Procrastination.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fear is what's actually stopping you from entering a flow state, right? If we're procrastinating, there's a level of subconscious fear that you don't feel worthy enough of the results. So you procrastinate. Okay. It's subconscious. You might not consciously be aware of that. So that level of fear is causing you to not enter a flow state because you're looking for distractions. You're like, I don't want to enter this piece of work right now because it's too hard, or I don't think I'm capable or have the energy to do this. Right? It's a limiting belief, but we need to challenge that.
Or you suddenly get tired.
Or you suddenly get tired.
Finding an excuse.
Finding an excuse. Yes, yes. I mean, I could get into the tired thing. There's a reason why and how we can combat that, but I don't have time. Um, okay, so there's lots of flow inhibitors. I go with the flow. Box technique. Yes, yes, with breathing. Um, closed eye visuals. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to give you the third most important thing. I won't be able to go through the whole thing, but I will do my absolute best. Okay. I'm going to tell you the flow cycle. Now, this is the most important thing that you need to learn from today. Stage 1 in the flow cycle is where most people get stuck in. This is where everyone goes in and out of stage 1 and they never enter stage 2. Okay? And the only way to get into stage 2 is to overcome stage 1. What do you think the first stage of flow is? To eliminate the inhibitors. That's a very good answer. Okay. What else? What is the first?
Find a purpose.
To find a purpose, okay, to understand why you're doing what you're doing. That's actually really important too. So what you just explained is a flow stimulator. Yeah, that's what you're explaining is flow stimulators and flow inhibitors, which are really good. But the first stage of the flow cycle, what is it? Being relaxed, being present. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes, that is a part of it. But that almost comes as you're entering the flow state. But the first most important thing is to struggle. You need to embrace the discomfort of boredom, the discomfort of hardship, the discomfort of effort. You need to persuade your brain, I must do this for minimum 25 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes if you train over time. Okay? So for 20 to 25 minutes, you need to be feeling like shit. Okay? And you need to embrace that feeling. Okay? Now that's when the beauty comes in. Okay? Because if you don't distract yourself within that 25 minutes, then you're able to enter flow state. But for every distraction that happens within the first 20 minutes, that timer resets and goes back to 0. So this is where most people stay at, right? They focus for 15 minutes, distraction. They have to start from 0 minutes again. And again, it's like a constant cycle throughout the whole day. Reset, reset, reset. Not actually entering a focus state and being distracted by opening a new tab, checking emails, checking LinkedIn messages, and going on a tangent. All of these distractions stop you from entering a flow state. Okay. So the number one thing, the most important thing is to struggle. Okay. Because then it's like you build this massive snowball at the top of the mountain. Imagine this massive snowball and you're like pushing it up. You're pushing it up and it's getting bigger, bigger as you roll it up the mountain. but then you don't reach the peak and you let go, what happens? The whole ball comes rolling down and you have to start from zero. So you want to get to the peak first. Then when you get to the peak, that's when you push the snowball to the other side and you roll down, you build that momentum, and it's this beautiful, freeing feeling. And that's flow state. Okay, and that's stage 2. Okay. So how much time do we have?
Finish this part. This is the best part.
This is the best part.
You gotta finish.
Okay, I've got
leave us with the cliffhanger now.
the cliffhanger. I've left you with the cliffhanger. Okay. So with the next stages, I would have to really go into the neuroscience of it, how to alter our brainwave states, and that will actually require quite a lot of time.
Maybe that is homework then.
Huh?
Please go ahead.
Okay, that homework. Should I give you homework, guys?
How about we challenge you?
Challenge me.
Yeah. To how could you put that in a nutshell? I know it's deep stuff in the neuro.
Okay. Okay.
That's a challenge for you.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the brief summary.
Yeah.
Okay, but for those of you who are extremely eager, only those that truly care and want to know more. Okay, I can give you more time with myself where we could have a quick call. I don't have that much time because, lots of things are going on, but only if you truly care, I will give you that facilitation of a tailored brain session for you to enter flow state. Okay?
Thank you very much, David.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But please only take this call if you really want it, because there's only so much I can give, and you might be taking away an opportunity from someone else who actually really wants it. Okay? So please be conscious of that, but if you're motivated, more than happy to help. Okay. So stage 2 is changing the brain waves, okay, into a state of flow. So stage 2 is actually flow. Okay. And that comes through that challenge of pushing this snowball to the top, because then we start to release certain neurochemicals like serotonin, dopamine, other chemicals that facilitate this brainwave shift. Okay. I'll tell you more info later. Then we go into the next stage. And this is what Nord was talking about when we get tired, when our energy starts to drain. Okay. That's because we haven't mastered the art of recovery. Okay. So in order to maintain flow and actually enter it multiple times in a day, we need to know how to recover. Okay. Now, if there's one, okay, I'll tell you the ultimate flow stimulator. The ultimate flow stimulator for everybody. That is immediately when you wake up in the morning, no phone, no nothing, no brushing your teeth, no shower, no exercise, no meditation, not all of these things that people tell you to do. If your sole focus is to enter flow state and enter peak productivity in your work, within the first 30 seconds, start work immediately. Immediately. What happens, your brain within the first 30 seconds of waking up is extremely neuroplastic. Okay, it's got a level of cortisol. So when we wake up in the morning and we see light, our cortisol peaks. Okay, but we're also really tired, so we're still very sleepy. Our eyes are still opening. We feel very groggy. But it's this combination, this hybrid mix of biochemicals that causes us to enter flow state naturally. So we don't need to actually go through this whole flow cycle. We can just enter into that straight away. It's you're facilitating the natural rhythm of your brain and body to enter flow. Okay, so you're creating this physiological conditions easier. You still need to know the depths of each cycle to help this, but that is one big thing that I can give to you guys. But if you want to find out more, in terms of how to work with your brain and have that tailored approach to your specific cognitive profile, to really understand how to build that consistency, how to reduce procrastination, how to work effectively to gain time. Imagine having all this time where you're actually building results and you're not in this default mode, you know, which is so common to be in for people. I want you guys to be in dream mode. I want you to be thriving.